explosion caused the partial collapse of a bridge linking Crimean Peninsula with Russia, in which 3 people were killed, Russian authorities said. Ukrainian officials have repeatedly threatened to strike the bridge, and some lauded the attack, reporters said. The blast on the bridge came after Putin celebrated his low-key 70th birthday, and a criminal probe has been ordered that blew up a truck and heavily damaged a vital bridge linking Moscow-annexed Crimea to the mainland. After an explosion on the Salt Bridge linking Crimean Peninsula with Russia, Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree to step up security measures for the Crimea Bridge. He has also called for securing the energy bridge and the gas pipeline connecting the peninsula with mainland Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian forces are holding position in Donbass, in particular in the Bakhmut direction, where it is very difficult now, very tough fighting. Ukrainian authorities have started assessing the damage and humanitarian toll in the devastated city of Lyman in eastern Ukraine. The Russians used Lyman as a strategic logistics and transport hub during its occupation. Overnight shelling has cut the power supply of Zaporizhia nuclear plant, forcing it to switch to emergency generators. Ukraine's state nuclear company and the UN atomic watchdog said Russia and Ukraine have accused each other of shelling, which threatens a catastrophic nuclear accident. Haiti's government on Sunday announced that at least 8 people have died from cholera, raising concerns about a potential fast-spreading scenario and reviving memories of an epidemic that killed nearly 10,000 people a decade ago. The cases, first cholera deaths reported in 3 years, came in a community in southern Port-au-Prince and in the gang-controlled seaside slum of Cité des Soleils, where thousands of people live in cramped, unsanitary conditions. Cholera is something that can spread very quickly, warned Laura Adrian, Director General of Haiti's Health Ministry. Food or water contaminated with cholera bacteria can lead to severe diarrhea and dehydration that can be deadly. The United Nations said in a statement that it is working with Haiti's government to mount an emergency response to this potential outbreak, stressing that health teams need to be guaranteed safe access to areas where cases have been reported. Deaths come as a lack of fuel and ongoing protests shut down the availability of basic services across Haiti, including medical care and clean water, which is key to helping fight cholera and keep patients alive. Haiti's most powerful gang continues to control the entrance to a main fuel terminal in the capital of Port-au-Prince, leading to a lack of fuel amid soaring prices that have unleashed widespread protests that have paralyzed the country for more than 2 weeks. The absence of fuel and increasing number of roadblocks have prevented water trucks from visiting neighborhoods to provide potable water to those who can afford it. It also has prompted some companies to temporarily shut down operations. Dementia is one of the greatest health challenges of our generation, according to World Health Organization (WHO), which on Tuesday launched the first ever research blueprint for tracking the disease, which 78 million people could be living with by the end of this decade. Although dementia is the 7th leading cause of death globally, dementia research accounts for less than 1.5% of total health research output, said WHO Chief Scientist Soumya Swaminathan. Sadly, we are falling behind implementing the Global Action Plan on the Public Health Response to Dementia 2017 to 25. She continued, adding that addressing dementia comprehensively requires research and innovation to be an integral part of the response. Strategies are needed to better understand, prevent, and treat the underlying diseases that cause dementia and at the same time provide care and support to people who suffer from it as well as those who care for them. Research needs to be conducted within an enabling environment where collaborations are fostered and equitable and sustained investment is realized, the UN Health Agency maintained. WHO prepared new blueprint for dementia research, the first WHO initiative of its kind for non-communicable diseases. It is designed to provide guidance to policymakers, funders, and research community on dementia research, making it more efficient, equitable, and impactful. WHO is encouraging national and international research agencies, together with financing bodies, to use Blueprint to inform upcoming funding and operationalize research. US President Joe Biden has nominated Dr. Vivek Murthy to serve as America's representative on the executive board of World Health Organization. Dr. Murthy, 45, will serve in a new position alongside with his continued duties as the US Surgeon General, the White House said in a statement. He was confirmed by the US Senate in March 2021 to serve as the 21st Surgeon General of the country. He previously served as the 19th Surgeon General under President Barack Obama. As the nation's doctor, Surgeon General's mission is to help lay the foundation for a healthier country, relying on the best scientific information available to provide clear, consistent, and equitable guidance and resources for the public. While serving as the 21st Surgeon General, Dr. Murthy is focused on drawing attention to and working across government to address a number of critical public health issues, including the growing proliferation of health misinformation, the ongoing youth mental health crisis, well being and burnout in the health worker community, and social isolation and loneliness, said the White House. The first Surgeon General of Indian descent, Dr. Murthy, was raised in Miami and is a graduate of Harvard, the Yale School of Medicine, and the Yale School of Management, the White House said. In a major revamp of its immigration laws, the United Arab Emirates (UAE) has ushered in a new set of visa rules that impacts tourists, job seekers, and those interested in residing in the Gulf country. Framed under the advanced visa system, the new regulations came into force on 3rd October. It introduces changes such as longer visas for tourists, extended residency for professionals under the Green Visa, and an expanded 10-year Golden Visa scheme. Tourist visas will allow visitors to stay in the UAE for 60 days, an increase from the previous 30 days. A 5-year multi-entry tourist visa will allow visitors to stay in UAE for up to 90 days in a row. The job exploration visa will also allow professionals to seek employment opportunities in the UAE without a sponsor or host. The 5-year green visa will allow foreigners to sponsor themselves without any help from UAE nationals or their employers. Freelancers, skilled workers, and investors are eligible for this visa. Green visa holders can now sponsor their family members, spouse, children, and first degree relatives themselves for the duration of their stay. If the permit for a green visa holder expires, they will be given a period of up to 6 months to renew it. A 10-year expanded residency is offered under the Golden Visa. Investors, entrepreneurs, and individuals with exceptional talents are eligible for a Golden Visa. Golden Visa holders can also sponsor their family members and children. The family members of a Golden Visa holder can also stay in UAE after the holder's demise until the visa remains valid. Golden Visa holders will also enjoy the benefit of 100% ownership of their business. Golden Visa will now remain valid irrespective of the time the holder spends outside the UAE. Swedish scientist Svante Pääbo has been awarded Nobel Prize for Physiology for the year 2022 for his discoveries concerning the genomes of extinct hominins and human evolution. Through his pioneering research, Svante Pääbo, this year's Nobel Prize laureate in physiology or medicine, accomplished something seemingly impossible, sequencing the genome of the Neanderthal, an extinct relative of present day humans, the Academy said in its press release. Through his groundbreaking research, Svante Pääbo established an entirely new scientific discipline, paleogenomics. Following the initial discoveries, his group has completed analysis of several additional genome sequences from extinct hominins. Pääbo's discoveries have established a unique resource which is utilized extensively by the scientific community to better understand human evolution and migration. No powerful methods for sequence analysis indicate that archaic hominins may also have mixed with Homo sapiens in Africa. However, no genomes from extinct hominins in Africa have yet been sequenced due to accelerated degradation of archaic DNA in tropical climates. Thanks to Pääbo's discoveries, we now understand that archaic gene sequence from our extinct relatives influence the physiology of present-day humans. One such example is Denisovan version of the gene EPAS1, which confirms an advantage for survival at high altitude and is common among present-day Tibetans. Other examples are Neanderthal genes that affect our immune response to different types of infections. The academic citation read. The European Union EU has given final approval to online safety focused legislation, which is an overhaul of the region's social media and e-commerce rules. Called the Digital Service Act DSA, the law tightly regulates the way intermediaries, especially large platforms such as Google, Meta, Twitter, and YouTube, function in terms of moderating user content. It will give better protection to users and to fundamental rights online, establish a powerful transparency and accountability framework for online platforms, and provide a single, uniform framework across the EU. Let's see the key features of the Digital Service Act. The social media companies will have to add new procedures for faster removal of content deemed illegal or harmful. They will also have to explain to users how their content takedown policy works. It also allows for users to challenge takedown decisions taken by platforms and seek out of court settlements. Under the DSA, very large online platforms VLOPS and very large online search engine VLOSES, that is, platforms having more than 45 million users in the EU, will have more stringent requirements. These requirements and their enforcement will be centrally supervised by the European Commission itself. VLOPS and VLOSES will face transparency measures and scrutiny of how their algorithms work. Online platforms must ensure that users can easily identify advertisements and understand who presents or pays for the advertisement. They must not display personalized advertising directed towards minors or based on sensitive personal data. The grouping of world's largest oil-producing countries, the OPEC, and its allies together known as OPEC Plus, decided to cut oil production by 2 million barrels per day. OPEC's de facto leader Saudi Arabia said the cut of 2 million barrels per day of output, equal to 2% of global supply, was necessary to respond to rising interest rates in the West and a weaker global economy. It is the biggest cut since the height of COVID pandemic in 2020. The move would reinforce the perception that Russia and Saudi Arabia are working closely together to manage oil markets. Established in 1960 by founding members Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, OPEC has since expanded and now has 13 member states, with the addition of another 11 allied major oil producing countries that include Russia. The group is known as OPEC Plus. Previously controlled by Western dominated multinational oil companies known as Seven Sisters, OPEC ought to give oil producing nations greater influence over the global petroleum market. They account for roughly 40% of the world's crude oil and 80% of globe's oil reserves, according to estimates from 2018. They usually meet every month to determine how much oil the member states will produce. Oil prices skyrocketed after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February and have since begun to soften over the past few months before dropping sharply to under $90 in September due to fears of a recession in Europe and reduced demands from China because of its lockdown measures. OPEC Plus members are concerned that a faltering global economy would reduce the demand for oil, and the cuts are seen as a way to protect profits. In the southern Mexican state of Chiapas, as many as 57 students were poisoned by an unidentified substance in a rural secondary school, local authorities said. After the incident, reports emerged on social media that students had tested positive for cocaine at a private laboratory. However, the parents of students suspect that their children may have died as they were exposed to contaminated food or water. The condition of one student remains critical and the others are stable. This is the third such incident of mass poisoning at Chiapas schools over the past 2 weeks, local media reports suggest. 57 teenage students in the rural community had arrived at a local hospital with symptoms of poisoning. One student in a delicate condition was transferred to a hospital in the state's capital while the rest were stable, the Mexican Social Security Institute said. The incident fueled anger among parents of children as they gathered at the basketball court of the school asking for answers from the authorities. One man in a Facebook video was heard saying that his daughter had been poisoned and tested positive for cocaine at a private laboratory along with other students. The state prosecutor's office said on Saturday that it had conducted 15 toxicology exams which had all come out negative for illicit drugs. US President Joe Biden told his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday that Washington will never recognize Russia's purported annexation of the Ukrainian territories as he announced an additional 625 million USD in military aid to the war-ravaged Eastern European country. Russia's parliament approved laws on Monday on annexing four occupied Ukrainian regions, namely Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk, and Zaporizhia, into Russia following a sham referendum that Ukraine and the West denounced as coercive and illegitimate. Biden was also joined by Vice President Kamala Harris in the call, during which they underscored that United States will never recognize Russia's purported annexation of Ukrainian territory, the White House said. The US president also announced the provision of a new 625 million USD security assistance package that includes additional weapons and equipment, including HIMARS, artillery systems, and ammunition, and armed vehicles. This round of military aid marks the first time the US has sent additional HIMARS to Ukraine since late July. Biden affirmed the continued readiness of the US to impose several costs on any individual entity or country that provides support to Russia's purported annexation. He welcomed the success of the agreement that has allowed the safe export of Ukrainian grain to global markets and need to ensure that continues, the White House said. Meanwhile, the Secretary of State Tony Blinken announced that he has authorized America's 24th drawdown of the US arms and equipment for Ukraine since August 2021.